TikTok diagnosed me with autism, and it was right. It is now April, which means it is now Autism Acceptance Month, Autism Awareness Month, whichever you prefer. And I happen to be autistic. My name is Babbles, and here is my diagnosis story. Editing Babbles here. Just wanted to pop in a quick disclaimer. There's a saying in the autistic community where if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. Everything I say in this video is purely from my own knowledge and experience. There will be autistic people who agree with what I say. There will be autistic people who disagree with what I say. So just keep that in mind. Enjoy. Okay, so before I get into the background of how TikTok diagnosed me, I want to give a little bit of a background into myself. So, when I was a kid, my parents had a nickname for me. They called me their everything girl, their more of everything girl. It seemed like whatever emotions I was feeling, whatever I was going through, I would just be a bit more intense with it. And they didn't really think a whole lot of it. I mean, being more of everything means there's more joy, there's more laughter, there's more happiness. However, it does also mean there's more anger, there are more outbursts, there's more sadness. But, I was a pretty happy kid. Most, if not all, my needs were met. And I'm actually going to bring this out one more. And that's just how life went. I just kind of went with the flow of things. Now, I will say, I was an extremely introverted kid. I often say I didn't make any friends, my friends made me, because it was just so hard for me to talk to people, to get used to people. I just couldn't do it for whatever reason. It even got to the point where it was uncomfortable to talk with my own cousins, and I wasn't sure if I was allowed to call my sister by the nickname that everyone else called her. I couldn't make myself do it. But, that's not uncommon for a shy child. So I grew up and got more advanced in school, and I started having regular meltdowns. I thought they were just anxiety attacks, but then learned more later and found out they were meltdowns. So I started going to counseling, and that was helping. And then I went to college, and it got much worse. That was a very dark time in my life, and that is a little bit personal, but I really want you to have the full story. So I had to drop out of college because of that reason, and I ended up staying home with my parents for quite a while. In fact, I still live with my parents because a few years ago, shortly after the pandemic started, I was scrolling on TikTok and saw a couple of videos about what autism can look like in people my age, in women, and how it can be a little bit different. I learned about masking and thought, hey, that seems pretty familiar. So, quick break. What is masking? Masking is basically presenting a different image of yourself, basically hiding everything you do. So, think about it a little bit like this. You're going to behave differently around your parents than you would around your teachers or your boss, or even around your friends. That's not to say you're lying, you just behave a little bit differently. That's what I was doing, but all the time, with everyone, including myself. So, I'd been doing that my entire life. And what happened around high school is my body decided it didn't want to do that anymore. So it started having meltdowns. It was its way of letting me know, hey, the thing that we're doing right now, this isn't good. We need to stop. So it ended with a lot of drained energy and just general unhappiness. Oops. So, flash forward to the pandemic, and I come across some TikToks talking about masking and talking about something called special interests, which I will get into later, maybe in a different video. But all of it, like I said, was feeling extremely familiar to me. And I thought, hey, I think maybe I should take a closer look at this. So I talked to my parents about it because obviously they've known me for my entire life. They know more about what I was like as a kid than I do because I was a kid. I don't remember. So I talked with them and they said, hey, this does seem pretty familiar. Maybe we should do more research. So I took a couple of online assessments, which I want to be very clear about online assessments. They're useful tools. They are not really meant to be used as actual diagnostic materials. It's just kind of a way to take a look at yourself and think, hey, is this all in my head or does this warrant taking a closer look at? For me, I scored pretty high. So my parents were like, all right, let's go get you an appointment. So I got an appointment and I got diagnosed. I have level 1 autism, and honestly, even just knowing that I have autism really helped a lot. So, what am I doing here? It looks like I'm building just a row of normal houses, right? In fact, I'm going to fill in a little bit here because that's kind of bothering me. What I'm doing is I'm building facades. For the next month, so for all of April, all of Autism Acceptance Month, I'm going to be building what I think is a representation of how my particular autism looks and feels to me. Now, I want to make another thing clear. I am not any sort of medical professional. I am not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone who is autistic. So this will be purely about my experience because that's all the information that I have. But I still think experience is a really good way to explain something, or it does make me qualified, I think. So this is a facade, and this is representing my masking. These are kind of variations of the basic Minecraft house. So things that are very usual, very typical. And that's kind of what I was doing for my whole life. I was presenting myself as neurotypical. Now, what does neurotypical mean? Neurotypical basically means someone who does not have any sort of... Ooh, this is going to be hard to explain. Someone who doesn't have a neurological difference. So people with autism, people with ADHD, people with OCD, anything like that, we are not neurotypical. We are what is known as neurodivergent. And there's also another term that I think you should know, and that is autistic. That is specifically someone who is not autistic. So I am neither neurotypical or autistic. I am neurodivergent autistic. So basically, with the mask, I'd been presenting myself as a neurotypical, as an autistic. And so this is just going to be representative of that. So my plan for this is to each video focus on a different aspect of my particular brand of autism. And maybe if you have any questions, I can talk about those. So this episode is specifically about my diagnostic process and my masking. So hence, facade. This one's looking pretty big. I think I'm going to stop there. And yeah, do the roof line like this. Now, something that I do think is very funny is Minecraft kind of has a reputation for being the quote-unquote autism game. There are a lot of autistic people who like Minecraft. And I get it. As an autistic person who loves Minecraft, I totally get it. It's very repetitive. It allows you to be creative. It's just nice. I don't think I like this. I think I'll go one more up, just in the middle. Oh goodness, I have gotten myself confused. Oh well, I'll figure this out. So, if you have any questions at all about autism, about my diagnostic process, because that took months and was very difficult and required input from both myself and my mother, please feel free to leave a comment, feel free to ask. I do enjoy talking about it. I think... Okay, here's something that kind of makes me a little bit different from the rest of the autism community at large. April is typically known as Autism Acceptance Month nowadays amongst autistic people. I think we need to focus a little bit more on awareness, because it used to be known as Autism Awareness Month, and I do think autism acceptance is great, it's amazing, but as someone who was diagnosed late in life, but also not even the latest I know, I think we still have work to do on the awareness front. I had no idea I had autism because I didn't know autism could look like me. I was used to, the typical version that we see in TV shows and movies with people like Sheldon Cooper or even Rain Man, which, by the way, Rain Man I do think is a fantastic film. It is a little bit outdated, but, we have to have outdated versions before we can have the fully accurate ones. But anyway, I had no idea that I could have autism because I never saw anyone like me with autism in TV shows and movies. So I think we've still got a lot of work to do on letting people know what it can be like. Okay, I think I'm going to do one more and then I'll wrap up. Okay, so I've got a final smaller one here, and then I'm just going to fill out a little bit here so you can't super easily see what's going on over here. Because that was kind of what I was doing. I was masking so much, you couldn't really tell what was going on behind the scenes, what was going on in reality. So we're just going to make it a little bit tougher to see. Now, I want to make one more thing clear about my diagnosis story. I was incredibly lucky. I say it took months. That's on the shorter end for a lot of diagnosis stories. For some people, it can even take years. For me, I think it was maybe about 4 months. And I got diagnosed at 21. That is considered late, but I've also heard stories of people not getting diagnosed until they were in their 40s or 50s. There really isn't a whole lot of awareness happening, but it is slowly spreading, and that gives me a lot of hope. Now, a lot of you may have heard there's a lot of fear-mongering going on about how cases of autism are increasing. And that is both correct and incorrect. Yes, there are more people nowadays who are legally considered autistic, but there are way more people who are autistic who haven't gotten a legal diagnosis. And that's why I say, even though I have an official diagnosis, I have nothing against the so-called TikTok-diagnosed autistic people, the self-diagnosed autistic people. Because for a lot of late-diagnosed autistic people, we started off self-diagnosed. That real, quote-unquote, real diagnosis wouldn't have come if we hadn't first thought, hey, I think I might be autistic. So, the thing about the cases rising, there's probably about as many autistic people now as there have been for basically ever. We've just gotten much better at identifying them. And honestly, there is nothing wrong with being autistic. You hear me? Nothing. Does it make my life difficult? Yeah. But are there also upsides? Of course there are. It's just like any other thing. There are positives and negatives, just like with being a regular human. So, this has been the first episode of my Autism Awareness Month series. We've got my masking facade here. And I think it works pretty well. It's your standard Minecraft house, but there's gonna be some stuff behind it. So, if you have any questions or anything about autism you would like me to address in future videos, please leave a comment. Like I said, I absolutely love talking about it. And that's it. From this originally TikTok diagnosed to formally diagnosed autistic person, I hope you have a great day. And I hope you have a great Autism Acceptance/Awareness Month. Please leave a like if you like, subscribe if you so choose, and I'll see you next time. See ya!